If you want to understand this liquid, you shouldn't look at the bottle. You should look at the earth. Specifically, at a plant that grows tall, jaded, and heavy with sweetness under a relentless sun. While other spirits claim the elegance of the vineyard or the precision of the grain, this one begins in the shadows of the sugar mill. It is a child of the molasses, that thick, dark, and bittersweet syrup that was once seen as nothing more than the humble leftovers of a sugar empire. It was the refuse that refused to be forgotten. Think of it as sunlight captured, fermented, and refined into a wild, untamed energy. It can be as clear as a Caribbean stream or as dark and mysterious as a midnight sea, depending on how many years it has spent dreaming inside an oak barrel. It is sweet yet spicy, earthy yet creamy. This is rum. A drink that doesn't just sit in your glass, it tells you a story of the tropics, even if you're standing in the middle of a desert.
Stay curious about the simple things. I'm Edward, and this is QC Project Simple Things.
Today, we'll uncover the untold story behind the world's most adventurous spirit. A drink born from the sweetness of sugar, shaped by the rhythm of the sea, and soaked in the weight of history.
This is the story of rum.
It didn't start in a palace or a refined parlour. Rum was born in the sweat, smoke and firelight of the 17th century Caribbean, a paradise of relentless sunlight and sudden storms. Back then, islands like Barbados and Jamaica were the beating heart of the world's sugar trade. Day after day, enslaved men and women worked the cane fields under a burning sun, crushing the tall green stalks until the air itself smelled of sweetness and smoke. But from every ton of sugar came a dark, sticky residue, molasses. To the plantation owners, it was mere waste. To the workers, it was a possibility. They collected this thick syrup and left it to rest in wooden barrels, letting a quiet, patient alchemy take place. Wild yeasts turned the forgotten sugar into alcohol, filling the air with a scent halfway between sweetness and decay. Then came the fire. They poured the liquid into rough copper stills, heating it slowly over open flames until clear, potent drops began to fall. Each drop carried something strange, not just sugar, but survival. It burned like anger, yet healed like hope. Over time, this waste became a wonder. It was a spirit born of labour and pain that could help a soul forget, if only for a moment. This was how rum was born, not from a recipe, but from the raw instinct to endure.
So, how did a crude spirit from the cane fields conquer the world?
It didn't spread by accident. Rum travelled on the winds of empire, woven into one of the most efficient and merciless systems in human history, the triangle trade. Think of it as a perfect cold machine connecting 3 continents. From Africa came the enslaved, men, women and children torn from their homes. They were sent to the Americas, to the very cane fields where sugar and rum were born. From there, ships sailed back to Europe, their hulls heavy with liquor, gold, and a silent, crushing sorrow. But ask yourself, is a profit truly efficient if it costs a soul? In this system, rum became more than just a drink. It became a global currency traded for guns, for cloth, and for human flesh. Every barrel carried more than just alcohol. It carried lives. The taste was sweet, yes, but behind it lay the jagged bitterness of chains. We call it the spirit of adventure, but perhaps for those who made it, it was simply the spirit of endurance. Rum built empires, but it also buried the voices of those who made it. The irony is, when we raise our glasses today, we often forget that once this liquid gold was forged by hands that were never truly free.
So where did the word rum come from? No one's quite sure, and that's where the fun begins.
Some say it came from Rumbullion, a wild Old English word for a noisy commotion. The story goes that in the 1600s, when workers on Barbados first tasted this fiery spirit, chaos followed. Shouting, singing, a pure, drunken rebellion. They call that noise Rumbullion. But others disagree. Was it from the Dutch Roma, a sturdy glass for strong spirits, or the Latin saccharum, meaning sugar? We love to label things, to pin them down with a single truth. But words born at sea are like the waves. They drift, they change, they pick up new meanings with every shore they touch. By the time it reached Europe, the name had evolved, shorter, sharper, easier to shout across a tavern or through a storm. Rumbullion became rum. Simple, bold, unmistakable. Perhaps we're looking for a root that doesn't exist. Maybe a spirit born from rebellion and survival was never meant to have just one name, but 1,000 echoes. Whether the French call it rum, the Spanish ron, or the Brazilians cachaça, the essence remains the same. A single word shaped by waves and trade, remaining a mystery even as it fills our glasses. As rum spread across the Caribbean, it found its true home, the sea. From the decks of merchant ships to the hidden coves of pirate bays, it became the spirit of sailors, smugglers, and dreamers chasing horizons. We often call it a companion to courage, but let's be honest, it was just as much a companion to chaos. To the British Navy, it was a tot of rum, a daily ration of fuel to numb the pain and drown the vast loneliness of the ocean. For 3 centuries, this ritual defined life at sea until Black Tot Day in 1970, when the final measure was poured into the waves and the maritime tradition sank forever. But long before empires claimed it, rum had other masters, pirates. Men like Captain Henry Morgan, who chased the fire that made them feel alive. Is it irony or legacy that a man who lived by the sword now lives on a liquor label? Rum gave courage, but it also sparked mutiny, like on the HMS Bounty, where men drunk on anger and spirit turned against their own. It lifted spirits, and sometimes it broke them. Yet, through empire and anarchy, rum remained the one thing that united everyone. It became the ocean's language, a drink that didn't care who you were, as long as you were free. In that sense, rum isn't just a drink. It is the sea itself, wild, untamed, and unforgettable. But the story of the cane doesn't end in the Caribbean. Across the Atlantic, in the heart of Brazil, another spirit was unfolding, cachaça. Unlike rum, which is born from molasses, cachaça is distilled from the raw, fresh juice of the sugarcane. It is green, alive, and carries the very pulse of the tropics. At first, it belonged only to the enslaved, a liquid shadow to dull their pain. But can you truly ban a spirit that lives in the soul? When Portuguese colonizers tried to suppress it in 1744, the people of Brazil raised their glasses and said, we are still here. It evolved from a slave's ration to a patriot's pride. Today, when the world celebrates International Cachaça Day, we aren't just honouring a drink. We are remembering how fire, when tamed by the heart, becomes a symbol of strength that refused to disappear.
Today, rum has left the ships and plantations behind to become the heartbeat of the modern world.
It is a spirit that knows how to disappear into a mojito or a piña colada, letting other flavours shine while always leaving its unmistakable mark. I want to give you a 10-second rule to understand the DNA of this liquid sunshine. Next time you're at a bar, spend 10 seconds reading the character of the rum in your glass. First, look at the colour. Is it light rum? Crisp, gentle and clear as a tropical spring, perfect for easy laughter. Or is it dark rum? Deep, spicy, echoing with notes of caramel and oak from years of dreaming in wood. Second, breathe in. If you find a whisper of cinnamon, clove or vanilla, you're holding a spiced rum, warmth in liquid form. In just 10 seconds, you aren't just drinking, you're recognizing a personality. Because in every glass, you can still taste the past, sweet, wild, and unpredictable. So, when you lift a glass of rum today, what are you truly tasting? Is it just a sweet companion for a night out, or is it something deeper? It depends on what you value. The simple pleasure of the present, or the heavy golden story of the past. Rum reminds us that beauty doesn't always come from perfection. Sometimes it is born from the refuse of an empire, polished by the hands of the resilient and aged in the silence of the sea. It is a spirit that found its strength not in being the loudest, but in being the most adaptable. A reminder that even the simplest things can have the deepest, most complex roots. Sometimes, the most profound power hides in the details we often overlook. In a drop of molasses, a spark of fire, and a soul that refuses to be broken. If this journey from the cane fields to the void gave you a new perspective, please subscribe and hit the bell to join our next investigation. Your support is the fire that keeps our storytelling alive. I'm curious to know, after hearing its story, do you see rum as a bold survivor of the past or as the sophisticated partner of the modern world? Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us what simple thing you'd like us to decode next. We might feature your idea in the upcoming episode.
Stay curious about the simple things. I'm Edward, and this is QC Project Simple Things. Thanks for watching, and remember, history often hides in the smallest, sweetest details.